Okay, well, welcome to another episode of Red Lotus Life. And I just have to say that this topic today, we've been all over the place with it. And so we're hitting record again because it's such a cool topic. It's deep, and it got sparked off of one of the reels that I made. So the reel
Mhm.
was titled Confidence Doesn't Mean You Weren't Being Harmed. And like I said, this is layered, it's deep. We can go in a million directions with this. The comments on the reel were things like, oh my gosh, this has been happening my whole life. Oh yeah, this is a hot topic. We were just talking about this. And it literally talks about, the reel talks about how society, we're conditioned by society, not we're conditioned by society, but society believes that abuse only happens to people who are weak, who aren't able to defend themselves, who might be scared, fearful, that type of thing. And
Mhm.
that people with confidence actually aren't considered in that category of being abused or being victims of abuse or survivors of abuse. And I was talking about how that's not true and how just because you have confidence that you weren't, it doesn't mean you weren't being harmed. And the more that we contemplate this, because we're now taking the real, we're going into a deeper discussion with it, which has been fun and also all over the place.
Yeah, it has been all over the place, and it has really sparked contemplation between you and I, contemplation within the community, and I really love where it's going. I think a good place to start with is how can you be confident and also be harmed? And so for me, what that looks like is I can have all of the confidence in the world, but that doesn't mean that I can control how someone else is showing up. That doesn't mean that I am going to be able to, at any given time, be able to gauge or know how another person is going to show up. And so that's kind of how we end up in these situations where it's abusive or harmful because I can show up with confidence and lean all the way into a relationship. So for me, I'll just use like a romantic partner as an example. I can lean all the way into that. I can give everything that I have and then realize, "Oh, there's some red flags here. These things aren't changing, right?" And so then at that point you may make that decision to make another choice. And then you exit the situation, that relationship, knowing that you have the confidence still to be able to rebuild, right? And so that's kind of the train of thought that I've been in with it, and I would love to hear how that has shown up for you.
No, I love how you just explained that because it's true. That has been the contemplation. That's been part of the contemplation here of going, okay, there seems to be a common denominator here of that whole like leaning into the relationship, like having the confidence, starting to understand and realize, right? Like you have the confidence, you're in this relationship, you are all in. You're leaning in, you are giving it your all. Your money, your love, your energy, you're just like you are co-creating this life, right? You're
Mhm.
co-creating this life. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship. Let's talk intimate relationship right now.
Right.
And then you do start to see the flags. And there's not even a thought process about, oh, this is abusive, this is violent, this is this. It's kind of the thought process of like, this just isn't for me. This is unhealthy. This is toxic. And now we have the confidence to exit that. But what happens is, and this has been the topic, right? The topic has been, yeah, we have the confidence to exit that relationship. And we literally leave so much behind because we
Mhm.
have the confidence to rebuild.
Yeah. Um, and I think that that is the one point that so often we fail to see, and not necessarily we, but anybody that's in that situation is yes, we have the confidence to pick up and move on. We learn the lessons, right? We know what to look for moving forward, but what are we actually leaving behind? What
Yeah.
and I like, especially when we're talking about a feminine being who's maybe been a stay-at-home mom or maybe took care of the kids more often, even somebody that worked full time, but typically speaking, in a male breadwinner type of situation, it's it's often the woman who ends up having to rebuild. And it's much harder for her to rebuild after leaving a situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I got messages from even men. I got
Yeah.
messages from men that were saying the same thing. They were the
Okay.
ones that had the confidence and they left everything,
Hmm.
because they could rebuild. So I don't think gender, I don't know if gender actually has a lot to do with that anymore at this point. I think, to be honest, I think more men would come out and actually say that it's happened to them too. But I know what you're talking about. Like, I know what you're talking about with like the stay-at-home mom, or even like I was full time. I was full
Right.
time, career woman, all the things. And I also know the stay-at-home mom situation where they literally they're educated, they have a degree, all these things, they have their children, but they decide to stay home. They decide to stay home and raise the children. And then whenever it's time to exit, now they're like, well, what has, they're left with nothing. It has, but yet they're still confident to rebuild.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like that's the thing, right? And so whenever I saw the different comments on that reel, and like I actually know the person who said, "Oh yeah, my whole life." She wasn't saying like I've been abused my whole life. She's saying, "Yeah, I have confidence and I have left things my whole life. I've
Right.
rebuilt because I have the confidence to rebuild." You know?
Mhm.
So, yeah, this has been such a cool contemplation. Let's keep rolling with the like intimate and romantic relationship, because maybe
Mhm.
this will even spark something deeper with business relationships, family, I mean, that type of thing. But let's keep rolling with this one.
Okay. Let's see, where can we go from here? I think that when we're talking about intimate relationships, romantic relationships, um, so often we find ourselves in those situations, initially speaking, because we're coming from a place of trauma. So maybe we experienced trauma in childhood. Maybe we were modeled something, or we have a certain conditioning that maybe came from society or just dogma, generally speaking, that led us to be in that situation, right? And I think that trauma and resilience in so many ways really goes hand in hand. And so when we're looking at, okay, I am confident, I found myself in this situation, there are people being harmed that I didn't intend to be harmed, then what happens when we realize we have the confidence and now we're exiting? So there is that trauma and the resilience, and what does resilience look like? And I would love to hear your thoughts around that, around trauma and resilience. And
Well,
yeah, like relative to the intimate and romantic
yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, well, I think this is a fascinating conversation too, right? Because I mean, everyone has experienced trauma at some point in their life. People
Hmm.
are resilient. I mean, that's just the human way, right? It's just the human way. And it was interesting for me personally because I never resonated with experiencing any kind of trauma, which is what's funny. I actually, like, I mean, I just didn't have that in my vocabulary and my awareness. I mean, just in general, I was just like, this is life. That was pretty much my attitude, right? Was like, yeah, life happens. Like life happens and you move on. Like that's what I mean, like the confidence, right? Life
Hmm.
happens, you move on. And it does create this resilience. It creates this resilience. We and one of the recordings that we actually stopped, I would kind of want to bring that in because you were talking about how it creates this different type of resilience. It's one that you can actually recognize in other people,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so it I think that's probably, I think we experience the trauma, right? That gets us in the situations. I don't want to say gets us in the situations, but we end up in these situations and kind of wonder how did we get here?
Hmm.
And so now it's like, okay, so we've experienced trauma, whatever that might be, because trauma looks different for everyone. We build up this resilience. We're in this relationship now. We're in a relationship where we're co-creating. That might even be to the extent of creating a family together and all of that, right?
Hmm.
And so now you have this resilience of like, I can handle this. I can handle this. We're just going through a rough patch, right? Just going through a rough patch. There's this that's happening. There's that. Life is happening. Life is happening. We can get through this. And then it's all of a sudden now going, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's some stuff here that's the red flags, right? Like the
Yeah.
red flags and go, okay, even if it's like years in this, decades in this,
Hmm.
something will all of a sudden happen where it's like, now, okay, I don't know if we can come back from this. That's kind of what happens. So the lean in, you know how it's like we're all in, we're all invested, we're all things. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden we see this or we experience this. And now we're like, maybe not so much now. And it doesn't matter how much time's invested, money, energy, love, all things. It doesn't matter. All of a sudden now it's like, okay, the pullback. And now going, we need to exit.
Right.
Like something needs to happen to exit. I don't know. Is that what you were thinking? Is that kind of like what you were getting into there?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were talking about before. And I think that's really, really common. Like, there is this place where, like, we have leaned all the way in, we've given our all, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, ooh, this doesn't really feel good. This, like, there's that constriction, there's resistance, and it's like, okay, what do I need to do moving forward? And also, again, like for me, it's always taking the lessons. And I think that is a little bit different when, like in my circumstance, because I personally have rebuilt within situations where mm, you can rebuild in a lot of different ways. That's what I'll share. You can rebuild in a lot of different ways, and so just having the confidence and the self-esteem to be able to do that within any given environment is a
Mhm.
different type of resilience. And I think that no matter how much confidence that you have, it doesn't mean that it's not going back to the title, right? It doesn't mean that it's not harming you in some way. It doesn't mean that as a human being, you're not feeling those emotions. It doesn't mean that um, you didn't see beauty or you didn't find gratitude in a lot of different aspects. It's just that some of these things are no longer in alignment, right? And so now we get to move forward, hopefully with awareness for those who
Mhm.
might be for those who might be impacted.
Mhm. Which
So
is where the confidence comes in again, right? I
right,
like how
exactly.
you talked about that because I feel like that's actually the resilience when we're in a relationship. The
Hmm.
rebuild
Right.
when we're in the relationship, the environment hasn't changed where we're in the same household, we're living whatever, right? We're in it.
Hmm.
We're in it,
Hmm.
co-creating this life. the little things that start to happen, the harm, right? Just
Hmm.
because we're confident doesn't mean we don't feel it.
Right,
And
exactly.
so it's like, yeah, that's actually what starts to build the resilience. And we rebuild and we rebuild and we rebuild, even in the same relationship. We're
Yes.
continuously rebuilding until all of a sudden I mean, and sometimes we exit and sometimes we don't. Sometimes people are still in it, they're still in it and they're in that rebuild. Um, every day, rebuilding, 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 right? Every day. I know that was me for a
Yeah.
long, long time. That was me,
Yeah. Hmm.
like over a decade long time, And so it's interesting too, because, bringing back even the confidence to be like, today's a new day. Right?
Hmm.
Today's a new day and today's going to be different. Or uh, even realizing I don't have control over somebody else's emotions. I don't have control over somebody else's um, feelings, actions, all of those things.
Hmm.
You know, that's a form of rebuilding that, being in the moment and even out. I mean, it continued to happen out. We talk about that all the time, even after
Hmm.
leaving relationships, especially if you're co-parenting.
Yeah. And at that point, hopefully there is some amount of rebuilding so that you can, create safety for the children or other members of your family or whatever the case may be. But, Lori, I just feel like we're always in a state of rebuilding, right? No matter what, we're always in the state of rebuilding. And especially if we're doing this work, especially when there is awareness, especially um, when you are confident, when you are resilient, you know that you have to do what you need to do in order to pivot and shift. And so that's probably an entirely different conversation, but I also think it's relevant. So,
Oh,
yeah,
it's totally relevant because that's why we're even doing this, right? That's why we
yeah.
do Red Lotus Life, is because people are constantly asking, like, how are you? How do both of you like move through the world in such a grounded and sovereign way whenever they hear our stories or they hear what we've experienced, right? And
Hmm.
it's like, it's because of this work, because of the work of the spiral and always coming back to neutrality, right? We're
Yeah.
alchemizing these experiences, really being grounded and anchored in who we are. And then coming from this, like operating from this state in the world, which is, I don't know, at this point, it's like really easy for us, I feel.
Yeah. I do feel like it's easy. And, something that I was just thinking about as you were sharing that is, you know, when we start to see those red flags, this is where sort of the breakdown happens, right? And then what if, just what if you were doing this work? And this is how we get through it, right? What if
Mhm.
you do this work and you're in a romantic relationship and you're able to co-create and rebuild together because now you have tools to navigate. And I think that's really that's the epitome of this story. Like, what would happen if instead of this is what happened over here? And of course, that's not always going to be the case because we don't always have the luxury of a partner who's willing to do the work with us.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yes, we have the confidence to leave, but just what if?
And you know what? That is the part that's super cool
Yeah.
because okay, so we've seen it. We have literally seen it happen. We've seen it where people are in relationships and somebody goes through the spiral and then their partner goes through the spiral even years later, even like years later. And then we see them come together, right? And it's like, whoa,
Hmm.
like power couple ends up happening. But even
Right.
the people who even know like self-clearing, or they do this work, they do even say yes to soul or lunar journeys or anything, right? Like definitely if they do the spiral, they're
Hmm.
able to be in the relationship, and it actually, it's really cool what happens because the work ripples out even if only one person is doing it.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's really cool when they're the confident person, right? When they're a confident person and they
Hmm.
have the confidence to be in this relationship, they're doing the work of the spiral, they're showing up differently. Their partner ends up, spouse or partner ends up showing up differently because they're showing up differently. And then they start creating this whole different relationship that is actually quite amazing and beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it really is just it's amazing to witness. It's beautiful to witness. And in my experience doing this work with people who are in relationships, it's kind of like you see them sort of like there might be sort of uh the word I'm hearing right now is abyss. Like there might be this abyss that gets created for a minute and like there's all this static and people are like, "Oh, that person's changing, something's different." And it takes a little while to like readjust to the changes, right? But then once they come back together, once the dust has settled, then all of a sudden it's like a huge, like massive new dynamic that's been created. And it's so much more powerful than it ever could have been.
It's more than what anyone has ever imagined, actually,
Yeah,
what
exactly.
happens.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. We've seen it over and over again in all relationships. And
Yeah.
it's just, it's cool, especially if there's children involved, because then we end up seeing that too.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
now there's something different that's modeled for the kids.
Yes. And also, I mean, regardless of, I will say this too. I think it can only sometimes just say two different people aren't going through the spiral or doing the work or whatever. Sometimes it only takes one person, but it's super powerful when both people are doing the work. And when you are looking at the kids and now how it's like such a gift that you can give to
Mhm.
them in order to do that work together.
Mhm.
It is such a gift to be able to do that work together because then your children see your resilience, they see your confidence, they see the rebuilding, like that's a model to them, right? And so
Mhm.
going back to sort of like the beginning of the conversation where we're talking about, okay, what were we modeled or what was the trauma that we experienced? It's a completely different type of resilience that gets built. It's now a resilience that comes with safety, it comes with trust, it comes with all of these things that you may have entered the situation with prior to without. And I don't know. So my thought process is going in a lot of different directions.
I know.
Where are you? Where are you
I
in this
know.
process?
I want you to explain that last part a little bit. When you said, Covey, what did you say? It was the last things that you said.
I was saying that there's a different type of expression of resilience and confidence
Mhm.
when it is built from a place of trust and safety rather than trauma and abuse.
Mhm. Yeah, this is the power couple. This is the power family.
Yeah.
This is a family. It's generational healing because it's not
Hmm.
getting passed on to the next generation.
Right.
And it's literally this. And when I say power couple, power family, what I mean by that is empowerment, not power necessarily, right? But
Right.
that empowered person, that empowered human being now as the result of this. And when you have a whole family that is this, that
Hmm.
has, that is able to provide the trust, the safe space, right? When you have a family that provides the safe space, that provides the trust and everything else, it's there's, it's hard to even put words to that because I've seen it, I've seen it and I've seen how it feels, how it looks, and I'm just like it's so you talked about it being a gift. It's the
Yeah.
greatest gift. It's the
Hmm.
greatest gift that anyone could give their children and the generations that come after them.
Yeah. And I mean, we can even say the healing that gets happened in the generations prior to as well, because it ripples that direction as well.
Mhm.
But it is the greatest gift. It is the greatest gift to be able to give your children the tools of confidence, resilience, values, morals, ethics from a place of trust and safety.
Mhm. Yeah, and not because they've experienced, I mean, they're still going to experience trauma. Like I said, trauma happens for everyone,
Right,
depending on what it is, but not in this way from harm, like from harm from their family members, right? From their
right.
actual family, their parents in that way. So it just, wow, this work, I'm like, this work is just, it's just incredible. It's just incredible in every way.
It is incredible.
Hmm.
It never ceases to amaze me, and I've been saying that for 10 years.
Hmm. I know. What's really cool about this work is you take somebody that actually has that confidence and then they usually become a practitioner. That's usually what happens.
Hmm.
When they have this confidence and they have that type of resilience, they end up becoming a practitioner because it's, I mean, just like we did, right? Just
Hmm.
like, just like we did, because the work is that powerful and they want to be able to bring the gift of this work into their families and into their, their loved ones, their communities.
Hmm.
It's just powerful.
It is, and when you know, you just know.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to share on this?
No, you?
I don't think so. It
Okay.
went in a totally different direction than what I expected, but yeah, I don't think so. We'll probably have more um, conversations about this. So, I mean, if this resonated with anyone, please let us know
Hmm.
because, like we said in the very beginning, it can go in a million. This topic is wide, it's vast. And when we have personal experience with it, like we can go in so many directions.
It's nuanced.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you have any questions or comments, just put them below. I think I'm going to add that reel just so that people have a little bit of context. I'll add a link to that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess that's probably it.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see you next time. Okay.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.
And live your life today. It doesn't matter what they say.